Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil.
Let every soul be subject to a higher power, for there is no power but that of God.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the BDRP Supernatural. And it's a whole lot of stuff going on that's scarier than anything supernatural. Folks, there was a House Oversight Committee hearing that the President of these United States of America, son, was called to. I don't know if anybody got a chance to get away from the ghouls, goblins, werewolves, and everything else to see that. But again, the distraction. There were people who actually didn't too much care for me pointing out the truth of the matter. Believe it or not, they said this is serious business what's happening down in Miami, and that I'm denigrating it by casting a different light than what's being reported. To those people, I would say, sorry, not sorry. Folks, look at everything. When you see things like this take place, and it's absurd, and it's not somebody on YouTube or TikTok or any of the, well, I guess it all started on TikTok, but it's not some boy from Hey Boy Corner that's saying these things. It's reported on the national news, ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, and they're all saying the exact same thing verbatim. They'll have the guys with the kind of spookily white teeth, a little bit too white. You know what I'm saying? Makes them look almost like Android. When they're saying the same things and they're laughing it off, it can't be aliens coming through portals. This is a conspiracy theory. It's silly. Of course, someone seeking the truth know those telltale signs, and they're going to say, oh, well, if they're saying that, of course it's true. They're not sophisticated in what they're doing. They're just pulling a good old double flim-flam. Folks, the President of the United States' son, the contents of his hard drive were just thrown out there on some website. Website was quickly taken down, but a lot of illegal activities were recorded. When I say recorded, it's not like something like some voice stuff that you can, because folks, I'll tell you this much. I could have one phone conversation with you. If it goes over an hour or right underneath an hour, I can have every inflection of your voice. I can then take that and I can be you. And then to the point where honestly, your own family wouldn't be able to tell. I'll be honest. That's me with the capabilities of, if I told you that 10 years ago, you'd laugh me to scorn, unless I work for the government. But I can do that right now with this old computer that I've cobbled together. You know what I mean? Folks, it's really real out there. The world's at the brink of war. We have a sitting president whose son is so lost in the sauce, it's unreal. I actually did go to that website and I looked at some of that stuff. And G. Monelli, if you take away all the messages, because that's circumstantial anyways, those can be altered, but I don't think they were. But those can be altered. And the text messages had some crazy stuff. I mean, this guy wanted to be caught, folks. This guy wanted to be caught. I remember when it first came out, Merle and I were looking at it at the same time. And I couldn't go through all that. I couldn't even get through a quarter of it. That man wanted to be caught. His father is a Luciferian. I think we all would agree with that. That man wanted to be caught because think about what he went through. The granddaughter put out a tell-all book, told some very salacious things that took place. I've not read it, but people that I trust have. But until I lay my eyes on it, I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt. But I don't know why this woman would lie. You know what I mean? Again, I haven't read it, but she was saying that the old Sleepy Joe would make her take showers, make her take showers with him and stuff like that. Real weird, creepy stuff. The man's a creep. And I know everybody who's on this channel has seen the videos when they were he was at the halls of Congress, I think, and he was taking pictures with all the congressmen's family, and the like real weird shit he was doing there. I mean, obviously, folks, if he's doing that in the if he can't contain himself in the public, just imagine what he's doing in private. There's been Secret Service officers that have quit, who've come forward and said crazy things that he's done with their girl. He'd go grabbing their girlfriends at parties. These Secret Service gentlemen, they're not soft serve. They're not powder puffs. They will handle you. Their job is to soak up bullets for the president of these United States of America. They are hard around the edges, folks. And for a Secret Serviceman who would willingly and willfully lay down his life for the commander-in-chief of this nation, to have to be restrained from putting his hands on this man, this is when he's vice president. That's a big deal. What gets me to this point, I was thinking about this morning. The monsters are right. I asked myself for years, and I thought it was hey, these monsters watch us from the peripheral. They're right there at the tree line because we're the biggest threat to them. And I just left it at the generalization of that. You know what I mean? But you can get in the specifics of it. Imagine the cruelty that they've seen us inflict upon us. From La Cosa Nostra to the Ku Klux Klan in the South to just any vagrant or murderer dragging somebody into the woods, smoking their game, leaving the body lie or digging a hole for them. All manner of ugly things has taken place in the forest. There were murderers who lived in the forest. Folks, they're right to keep their eye on us. How embarrassing is it to have that man as the president of the United States? How sad is it? You know, a lot of people are mad at Hunter Biden, but like, he was raised in that stuff. Imagine what he went through as a kid. That man wanted to be caught. He had screenshots of the flight logs, everything. It was all neat and wrapped up. Him going to China, the text messages between him and his father, and exchanging monies. It's crazy to me. But there's aliens in the mall in Miami. So he stood before a House committee to answer questions and all that, and he just burnt off. He dipped. I mean, why not? Nothing's happening to him anyways. If that was me or Jeffrey Reynolds or Zephaniah 3421 or Roliar, who's joined me this morning, they'd have us under the jail. They'd probably beat us to death before they even booked us in. Are you kidding me? This man is receiving monies on his father's behalf from what a lot of people consider to be enemies of the state. Foreign countries that wish, I mean, we have a symbiotic relationship with China, as you know, if you're smart. I mean, they make it, we buy it. It's as simple as that. But the big distraction that they use to segue folks away from all this, that was just another one that I wasn't even going to mention, but it's worth mentioning. You know what I'm saying? It's worth mentioning. I mean, let's get real. There are people that are concerned, and rightfully so, especially ones like me that live in rural areas, that live in the country, that have 130 something acres. They're plopped right down in the middle of it, and they have these things coming up to their well, coming up to their gardens and their fields. Of course, I mean, there's nothing to be worried about. You're covered in the blood if you know how to pray. And I'm talking about natural and unnatural creatures, folks. Once someone told me that, oh, well, you talk about praying these creatures away. You wouldn't do that with a wolf or a cougar. Why wouldn't I? My God created all that and then some. He is the ultimate power with a capital P. So if I was set upon by a mountain lion or a bear, you doggone right, I'm going to be pleading the blood of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ against it. hopefully with the 30-30 in hand, feeding it some lead at the same time. Not in that particular order. So it's like this. Those monsters are right. I'd watch us too. Folks, it's just embarrassing to me. 4 generations on one side, 3 on the other, men and women who have been a part of the greatest and most dominant military force on this planet. You've heard me mention him before. I believe his name was Kirby. I could be wrong with that, but Kirby Smith. He was the first general of the all-black regiment of Arkansas. They said when they heard the Arkansas Negroes drumming, they thought it was Gabriel's horn. They smoked their game on them plantations, freed a lot of slaves. I think about that. He won through his war efforts. Or he was awarded, not won. He was awarded this 100 and some odd acres in Arkansas that's still in our family to this day, and that's something very, very special. It's also on the Arkansas River. All the weird stuff that we'd hear out there. This voices coming out of the woods. When I heard my own mother knock on the door of my great granny's house, me being a little kid, I wanted to answer it because I heard my name. Then great granny said, "Boy, don't you answer that door. We don't talk to spirits." And I was like, do what? Spooky stuff takes place in the woods, folks. But there's nothing more spooky than a president's son who's allowed to break the law right in front of us. And they're like, "Yeah, my dog just shit in the carpet. Come here, rub your nose in it." They grab your head and rub your nose in it and laugh at you. What are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I don't know what to do about it, except watch and shake our heads. But I think that's a little bit more pertinent than an alien invasion where there were shots fired, where nobody was hurt, where nobody was killed, with black, 10-foot tall shadow beings walking to and fro. Folks, they're going to give you exactly what you want, because the more they press that stuff, the more they push that in front of you, the more fear and anxiety they can build up, the more their witchcraft works. You know that saying, it takes 2 to lie, 1 to lie, and 1 to listen. It takes 2 to come under witchcraft. I don't come into agreement with any witchcraft. You cannot curse that which he has blessed, and that he is capitalized. That's our Father who art in heaven. If you're washed clean in the blood and you belong to Lord Jesus Christ, your property. You belong to Jesus Christ. You're bought and paid for. It's done. Finitas, he said on that cross. In Greek, it is finished. Signed, sealed, and delivered. They belong to me. That's why it's called the finished work of Christ. For those who don't understand what I'm saying, or don't understand why I'm harping on it, especially my brothers and sisters, I'm specifically talking to you in this. Pray for the restored mind of Christ. Pray for the scales to be peeled back from your eyes. Pray for the truth to come into your heart. And you'll see. I mean, part of me wishes it was aliens coming out of portals, because, you know, I'm a nerd and that's neat. But we don't have that yet. They're going to be. Don't get it twisted. They're coming. They're going to be in malls in Miami, in baseball fields in Arkansas, in pumpkin patches in Iowa. They're going to be everywhere. And it's going to be all at once. Hell itself, folks, is going to be vomited onto the earth. The ground will crack open. Beasts and monsters and demons are going to be running 90 going north. Just like the sky will roll back like a scroll, and treasure of heaven will spill forth. I mean, all that's going to take place. I do realize that. I don't think I'm saying anything extra biblical to say I don't believe that it's one portal in one mall. I mean, has anybody said anything else in that city about seeing these creatures the same time this happened? I mean, portals, and this is just my humble opinion, portals open where ley lines cross. Where ley lines cross, you have what smarter people than me call gravitational anomalies. A gravitational anomaly is just where weird shit happens. Doesn't have anything to do with gravity. It's called the theory of gravity for a reason, by the way. There you go, brother Jeff Reynolds. We got I Want to Know More and brother Jeffrey Reynolds in the chat with us. They're executive producers. Just like you said, CERN is opening portals like 90 going north. Do I think that they're opening portals just at the CERN facility in Geneva, Switzerland? Absolutely not. No, I don't think I think they're opening portals all over the world. Ones that they aren't even aware that they're opening. Do I think that it was one at that mall? No, I really don't. I think it was just as it was reported. This lady, before it went viral, this woman's TikTok went viral, and then the news starts reporting on it. That ABC agency that loves witchcraft, who actually had a high priest of the Church of Satan and a 4-star general run one of their programs. You may remember it. It was called MK Ultra. He's buried up there in Arlington Cemetery, just a stone's throw away from those presidents that we all know and revere. The high priest of he helped start the thing with Anton LaVey. I got something coming out for y'all today. It's going to have Anton LaVey in it. I've been looking a lot into this guy. This man was nefarious, but that's neither here nor there. Folks, the CERN Large Hadron Collider is going to be revving back up before you know it. When they first started their experimentation, it went right underneath the speed of light, just a little bit less than the speed of light. When they started their experimentation back up, and they found the Higgs boson particle through their first run, they said, well, what would happen if we go right at the speed of light, just right even with it? This next one is they're going to be going over the speed of light. They're going to be colliding particles together that are traveling faster than the speed of light. Now, at first, they were doing it under the auspices of the Big Bang, you see. They were creating the Big Bang so they could study that event, and they would be able to relate to us and have an understanding of what happened during the Big Bang, what brought everything into being. And, of course, we know now that the Higgs boson particle reverberates like sound, and science has yet again proved the Bible. It proved that vibration from the voice of the eternal spirit God that sits outside of time and space said, let there be. Isn't that wonderful? I think it's beautiful. They ain't going to do it. I don't care what. That's the CERN Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, is the biggest machine ever to be built by man. It runs a circumference of 22 miles, 300 feet, I believe, beneath the surface, in the same place where they have the Apollyicum was there. Way back when, the Apollyicum had them a sibyl, or an oracle, as it's called. Some young girl that they get high and drunk, and their eyes roll in the back of her head, and she'd begin to give all this oracular knowledge that she had no business knowing. And the priests of these oracles, they would tell you straight out, yeah, she's got the spirit of Pythia on her. The spirit of Pythia would wrap around her spine and go over the top of her head and open up that third eye. And she'd begin to give knowledge to Mark Antony, King Leonidas, all the Caesars of that time. She was so revered that pharaohs had her kidnapped. And I say her, there were many oracles. There was the Oracle of Delphi, which everyone knows, but there was also an Oracle of Hierapolis. There was an Oracle of the Decapolis. Anywhere you would find these temples, you would find underneath it, not in it, but underneath it, an oracle. You know what Uncle D thinks that you could also find at these places? Something akin to the Large Hadron Collider over there in Geneva, Switzerland. I think that they had one in the Tower of Babel. I think that they had a more efficient one than we're making. I believe that they, back in the pre-flood world, the pre-deluge, had more natural ways of harnessing power than we have right now. More natural and efficient ways. The Tower of Babel, I believe they said, was 17 stories. I may be wrong in that. Folks, people in the ancient world weren't stupid. If you think they were stupid, you go over to Egypt and you tell me how they move those blocks that some of them weigh hundreds of thousands of tons. We don't have equipment that could do it today. Laser precise cuts on the blocks. We can't do that. We can do that, but they couldn't do that back then, according to, history buffs and scientists and all that crap. Folks, they're lying to you. You know, and I know, well, I guess some of y'all don't know it, but they're lying to you. Do I believe there's aliens? Yes. I don't call them that, but let's, for argument's sake, yes, there are aliens, quote unquote. Something that's here that did not originate on this planet. They originated in the bowels of some fallen angel, some despicable creature. God had no hand in their creation, so he's not going to have a hand in their judgment. Piss on them. But they're still here. There were giants in those days and also after, but everybody forgets the men of renown. Nobody talks about that. They speak of it in the book of Jasher. Those men of renown were your Hercules and your Persephones and all these demigods, right? Half God, half humans. Folks, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. What was it like in the days of Noah? Do you think there was just giants that our ancestors were going up against? Are you kidding me? No. There were more than giants. I would say that the vast majority of the stuff that plagued this planet was more than giants were 3,000 something feet tall. Godzillas, if you would. Now you have these satyrs, the bat squatch. All these weird type of animals and cryptids are showing up all over the place. Whole tribes of them. Cities underground. I don't know if you've heard or not, but this information came out years ago on your ABC, CNN, Fox. They found underneath a library in Los Angeles, of all places, basically a skyscraper that went all the way down. It was a little city. And the deeper they went down, the more stuff that they would find. They found ancient scrolls. These ancient scrolls talked about a race of reptilian-type beings. If you go to where they have the Lucifer telescope, they've changed it now. And, you know, the acronym spelled out Lucifer. You think they accidentally did that. But this Lucifer telescope has the ability from using mirrored concave lenses. It's also known as the Santilli telescope. Santilli came up with another version of it. And, you know, they ostracize him because this Santilli telescope are the ones that the Catholics put on top of, what is that? What is that, Mount Graham? I want to say that's not Mount Graham. Whatever that mountain is out there. It has the ability to see what they call interterrestrial beings. Interterrestrial beings. Not beings that originate out there in the wild blue yonder. They originate from right here. Snakes that look like they're just going across the sky, slithering. Weird looking things that look like stingrays. All of them made of light. They see these things. They've seen them in military installations. They've seen them in places of political importance. They call them creatures or beings because they seem to have their own autonomy. They're not vehicles. They're living beings. So you put all that together. Again, I would have to ask, what's going on with this mall? It didn't happen at the library in Los Angeles, where there's, I don't know how many stories of ancient culture of a different type of hominid, humanoid being. You don't see anybody talk about that, though. That made the news. They put that stuff, they put the documents and everything they found in a museum. That was real. That should have been big. We should be talking about that every day up until this day, because it proved that there was some sort of an ancient being, an ancient race of, for lack of a better word, peoples that were more reptilian. They were not Homo sapien. They did not come from monkeys like we did. Wink, wink. Well, what were they, D? The men of renown. These watchers, according to the book of Enoch, took 200 of every species known to man at that time. We're talking flies, roaches, ducks, quails, elephants, penguins, you name it. They took 200 of them. And I'd like to imagine that they took 100 males, 100 females. And folks, I'm going to say this again, and you should really check your Bible before you say I'm wrong. There were female angels. Let's not be silly. I mean, as it is in heaven, let it be on the folks. Why would there only be males? You have to look at the time that this was written in. And I'm not going left. I promise. I'm going left means going, I don't know what passes for liberal type stuff today. But folks, look at the culture. Women weren't held in that high of regard. They weren't documented as being even something you think about putting in. The writers of the Bible, and this isn't denigrating the forefathers of my faith, they didn't think about putting just, there's women in the Bible, significant heroes, but that wasn't the culture back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, they weren't going to say, oh, well, this lady said this and this and this, unless it was pertinent to the narrative that was being told. There were female angels. Just let's get that out of the way. Sorry to go on that tangent, but I had an email and a comment on the channel because I said that before. And this guy, like, you're lying. There's no biblical evidence of that. And I opened up the Bible. I was going to send it. And the Holy Spirit said, no. Delete it and keep going. So I just want to throw that out there. And I digress. Apologies. The whole point of the matter is, folks, those monsters are men of renown, possibly. You've heard me refer to them as the beast of the field, or the beast of the earth, rather. The angels at the very end in Revelations, I think chapter number 6, and other places in Revelation, other places in the Bible, were referred to as living creatures. In the book of Ezekiel, one had the head of a lion, I believe, and everything in nature was represented within those angels, which were a representation of Mesopotamian gods of that time. So Ezekiel, when he saw these creatures, these living beings, these angels, these cherubim, he knew exactly what he was looking at. He was seeing the little g gods pull the throne of the big G God. But another curious thing that's in that, and I'm not talking about the wheel inside the wheel, when it got to the description of the one that was a man or looked like one, Ezekiel's super duper descriptive, very descriptive. He said it was unto the likeness of that of a man. In other places, you could see that if he said it was a man, or it looked to be a man, he would write that pretty much verbatim, but he didn't. He said it was like unto the likeness of that of a man. Maybe the nose was in the same spot, 2 eyes, ears, a mouth, but something about it didn't make him say that's a man. That's us. One of these angels looks like us. It was like unto the appearance of that of a man. What does that sound like? Sasquatch is like unto our appearance. If you were describing it without putting in any details, someone would think you're talking about a man or a woman. But I don't know. All I know is this. Again, I reiterate the fact that I said last night. Y'all stay prayed up because something else is coming. Something else is coming. It's going to be bigger, and it's going to be akin to all this alien stuff. Do I think it's Project Bluebeam Unleashed? Maybe. They sure are trying to prime us up for it, aren't they? I think that they still need a couple of dry runs. They need a couple of trial runs, a couple of dress rehearsals. And in those dress rehearsals, they got to bring the fear, because I don't think a lot of people are as afraid of this stuff as they would have been had it been 20 years ago. So they're going to have to do something to elicit that fear out of people, because that's what gives them their power. Just like their demonic daddies, the demons that clamber onto them and that inundate them, they have to have fear. If you're not afraid of them, what are they going to do to you? Now, don't get it twisted. They can solicit that fear. The only way you don't have it is if you have an indwelling of the Holy Spirit or call upon the name of Christ, plead the blood against them. I have this one jabroni come on the channel. Some may remember it. He said that he cast out devils in the name of Buddha, of Mickey Mouse, of even himself. But it never occurred to him that these beings, these men without bodies, could have been pulling a flim flam on them. I asked him, I said, did you do any aftercare? Did you go back to see a year or shoot even a month later if their life had begun to change because they're no longer under the bonds of these demonic entities. And I could hear him thinking. There was a little pause and he was like, no, I didn't. Where do you get the assurance that they were cast out then? You understand? These things are smarter than you. They're smarter than me. They have the accumulated knowledge of everyone they were attached to beforehand. And they're part of their lineage are angels that resided in heaven who looked upon God the Creator with their own eyes and weren't decimated from reality. That's why he told Moses to get in the cleft of the rock. If Moses hadn't gotten in the cleft of the rock and only saw part of his shoulder as God the Father walked by in that valley, he would have been obliterated from reality itself. You cannot stand before the Creator God, not without being covered in the blood. Are you kidding me? In the end, all of creation, the mountains, the trees, the earth itself, will flee from the face of the one who sits on the throne. He is separate from his creation. He has to be. Can't stand before a holy God and then expect something good to happen for you unless you're covered in that blood, unless you belong to him, having an indwelling of the Spirit of God. Same creative force that went over the face of the deep and that spoke us into existence. Folks, it's the really real. 2024 is the year of the really real. On the Chinese calendar, it's called the year of the really real. So I'm glad everybody's strapped in and ready. I hope you're ready. So for all our contributors, if you'd like to contribute towards this channel, you can find it in the description box and chat with you. If you hit like, which y'all are doing a whole lot better, hit like. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, hit the bell so you can stay up on all the new content. And yeah, we're going to keep trucking forward. Got a few things for y'all this morning that I think y'all will enjoy. Because we're going to get back to the monsters and stuff, you know. There's a lot of folks that like to listen to Dogman stories. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, they say, oh, well, D, you're always talking about God. We want to hear about Dogman and Bigfoot. What's so special about God? You're always talking about him. This is a Dogman channel, blah, blah, blah. That's okay. All right, whatever. You're going to get your Dogman. I'm gonna feed you till your belly pops. How about that? And I'll laugh about it. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding you. But you're gonna get some Dogman stuff today. And yeah, I think that's it. Maybe, probably. I'll tell you what though, folks, I get to go on a very, very special trip this coming Sunday, and I'm gonna bring y'all back. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. I'm gonna bring y'all back some evidence from one of the most, what would you call it? The most active places in the South for this cryptid stuff. It's the first time I've been out by myself in a while, I guess. So I'm excited and a little bit nervous. What makes you nervous, D? I don't know. Something makes me nervous about it. Like they're not nervous anticipation. You know what I'm saying? It's like going on that date with that girl that you thought was too pretty for you. You don't want to mess anything up. You brush your teeth till they bleed and all that stuff. Make sure everything's prim and proper. And then you realize you show up late. Oh, that only happened to me? All right, sorry. But anyhow, the real monsters wear suits and ties. Hey, man, I want to know more. Real monsters wear suits and ties and Air Jordans and loafers. They're black, they're white, they're everything in between. But there's also the really real monsters that watch us in those rural areas. They just watch. At one point, somewhere in the hopefully distant future, but I think it's going to be the near future, God's word is going to be fulfilled, folks, regardless of how we feel about it. A lot of us will like to take this portion. We want to leave the rest because it makes us, it just makes us uncomfortable. It makes us feel bad because we know that we're not completely in order. And instead of going to the Lord with this, because we think that we can't approach the Lord because of what we've done, we just suck it all in and become complacent. And I hate quoting the Bible or misquoting the Bible, rather, but I'll do my best. and they were given and taken in marriage, and they ate and they drank until the flood came and washed them all away. That's what I see taking place. All this stuff is happening. You have the college up there in Kentucky. These kids were lifting up their voices in praise of the Lord for over 30 days, and people came from all around the world and were saved. They were saved. And that gets pushed down for some silliness in the headlines. I see God's hand moving through all this. I feel him. I also feel that hand of the adversary. And it seems like they're trying to turn up the dial. I mean, there's going to be a great shift coming very soon. There has to be. I think that the seesaw has been on the fat boy side for far too long. The Lord's going to help take that fat boy off, and he's going to even things out, or go completely the other way. There's been we have now apps that are the most popular apps in the planet that the State Department admits are weapons against us. I don't know how many people this. I've shown them the evidence that it is, but they say, "Oh, well, you know, what can you do? I like it. I get recipes from it. I watch positive things. I watch Christian shows on this thing that I see the evidence of it. It's rewiring my brain to only be able to pay attention or take a minute's worth of information at a time. I'm acknowledging that I see that, but I'm not going to delete that app. I can't because of my cooking tips that I get. Folks, I don't know. The other guy keeps attacking you. I don't know what that means. Nobody's attacking me. The other channel? Who's the other channel? Chicken Corn? I mean, that don't surprise me. Everybody keeps attacking. Like, who cares? I sit on my front porch. It was kind of nice yesterday. Me and Sweet Luna sat on the front porch and smoked cigarettes and laughed to beat the band. So I don't know. Well, that's his problem, bro. Like, if he's attacking me, then there was a truce in place. My integrity is going to be my integrity. It's not going to be based on the integrity of someone else. If he can't keep his word, then he can't keep his word. That's between him and God. We entered into a covenant that I'm not going to break, not based on anybody else's integrity or honor, but mine. I appreciate you telling me, though, but in the future, like, nobody has to tell me anything about any of those channels. Their thoughts or whatever don't affect me. I have an identity outside of someone's opinion. So I appreciate it. Again, I know you're probably not, I mean, I'm not taking your head off or anything. I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, DeAndre Lamar Doss, who I am, couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. Now, if I were to hear it, that'd be a horse of a different color, wouldn't it? But why would I want to? You know? Like I said, I'm not attacked. I'm still sitting here as pretty as a girl. I will not have my peace shaken for anybody for any reason whatsoever. And I suggest y'all don't either. And that man has my phone number. If he had a problem with me, I mean, all he had to do was call. But apparently the problem must not be that severe. And I've never seen you on the channel before. You could be somebody looking to start some stuff. You know what I'm saying? The only thing you contribute to the conversation is something completely different than what I'm saying, and it's about somebody attacking me. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but you know how it goes. You gotta think of what it's like on the other side of the screen. But folks, I do sincerely appreciate each and every last one of y'all. I appreciate y'all's time. God bless y'all, and I'll probably be off for the next few days, but you'll be getting some drops, some Dumbo drops. Thank you again. And I was going to hit you with one of Yogi Bear's, like, does Yogi Bear have a catchphrase besides picnic baskets? and variations thereof. Hit like, click the bell. See you next time.